And this is what our incredible story will be about today. It happened to Bella, a little girl from Britain, and her parents. Bella's parents, Lee and Francesca, were a happy, loving couple. The fortunate parents already had a little son at the time when they found out they were expecting another child. They were on cloud 9 over this news, and when little Bella was born, Lee and Francesca were sure that they were the happiest family in the whole world. The happy family's house was full of love and laughter, but as it often happens, their life took a sharp turn unexpectedly. They really couldn't have seen it coming. Bella was growing up a healthy girl until she turned 14 months old, but then all sorts of strange things started happening to her. At first, she wasn't feeling well and had a bad cough, but then the baby's hair began to fall out. Her mother collected clumps of the baby's hair near her crib every morning. The doctor suspected that it could be asthma, so they prescribed the girl an inhaler. Over time, everything seemed to settle down, and the parents let go of the most terrible thoughts. Then came the summer, and the family went on a vacation to Spain. What could be better than the sun and the sea? For a couple of days, the family had fun and enjoyed their vacation. But on the third day, Bella had a seizure and got very sick. The parents urgently took their kids home to England so they could take their daughter to the hospital, where they would finally find the answers to all their questions. The next day, they were told the terrible news. Little Bella was diagnosed with mitochondrial disease, a disease that kills all cells in the body and inevitably leads to multi-organ failure. The parents thought they were ready for anything, but what the doctor had to say was like a bolt out of the blue. Unfortunately, we have bad news. Bella's disease is progressing, and there's nothing we can do to save her. There's no cure for this condition, the doctor told the parents and lowered his eyes. By this time, the girl was already in critical condition, hooked up to a life support machine. Doctors told the parents that the disease was very rare, seen in about 1 in 60,000 newborns. They added that they once treated a child with a similar diagnosis, and the problem was the lack of biotinidase. But unfortunately, that baby couldn't be saved either. All they could do was give little Bella biotin, or simply put, vitamin H. But even that didn't help. The doctors fought for the life of the little baby for another 2 weeks, but there was really nothing they could do to save her. There came a point when the girl was on the brink of death, and the doctors had to make a difficult decision. But they understood that it was time to switch off Bella's life support. They told her parents that, unfortunately, medicine was simply powerless, and July 21st would be the last day of Bella's life. That morning, Lee and Francesca came to their daughter's room with her 5-year-old brother, Bob, and decided to take one last family photo. In this picture, Francesca and her husband kissed their baby goodbye. They stayed in the room and couldn't find the strength to say goodbye to their little girl. It was unimaginably difficult. And that's the point at which this story could have ended. But 30 minutes later, something happened that no one could have expected. A child's cry came from the room. Francesca later said in an interview, "I kissed her on the forehead and was holding her hand, knowing there was going to be a little last breath. I could feel her hand dropping, and it went down, but then she started gripping my finger and started moving on her own." The doctors heard the machines and their patient crying and came running into the room. They couldn't believe their eyes. It was simply impossible. Bella was kicking and screaming, as her mother put it. The doctors immediately realized what was happening and told the parents the best thing they could have ever hoped to hear. Oxygen levels. They're getting better. It's just incredible. Oxygen levels have almost completely recovered. Everyone was shocked and beyond happy. Just half an hour ago, the doctors were sure that she would die, but then they had to change their mind. They fought furiously to save our baby. 20 minutes they spent fighting for our baby's life. I just sat there helplessly and held her hand. I cried and she held on and didn't want to let me go. She held on to life with all her might, Lee said later. Quite some time has passed since that day, and Bella's parents now think of that period as a bad dream. The girl is now growing up and enjoying life. She can proudly call herself a survivor. The family is extremely happy that fate gave them a second chance, although no one has yet been able to explain what had happened or how. When my daughter calls me mom, I'm the happiest woman in the world, Francesca says with a smile. And the doctors just shrug their shoulders and say that Bella is a real fighter. She is a true example of what it means to never give up. Always believe in yourself and fight till the very end. After all, none of us have the slightest idea of how miracles really work.